Retain gang, ladies and gentlemen, YouTubers, bots, robots, agents, all you guys, all you, whatever you are. Cheers. It's another beautiful day. Another video from your boy featuring lots of lint on my shirt. And yeah, all right. Let's get into it. I'm drinking coffee. I guess I'm breaking a fast. There's different philosophies on whether coffee counts as breaking a fast or not. So if you consider this breaking a fast, then I'm breaking my fast right now. If not, I'm on a pretty good streak of a fast right now. Before I get into the topic, I do have a podcast with Seb about fasting that I've yet to upload because my computer is so full of music that I've been producing that I don't have enough room to upload it. So that's a little project I got to figure out, but I'm going to upload that. So look forward to checking that out. We already did go pretty deep into the subject, taking a biblical perspective on fasting. Of course, fasting is something that's popular in the health community. You know, a lot of people do it for a lot of different reasons. Well, we're focusing on the spiritual reasons for doing it. And, yeah, for me, it's a spiritual thing. It's a physical thing. It's everything. It's mental. It's clarity. It's detoxing. It brings me closer to God. It's just a all around great thing to do. But let's get into the topic before I ramble too long. All right. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today about is something that I'm having a very positive experience with, and just so you guys know, I do my best to only speak on things that I do have experience with, you know. So I'm here talking about ways to heal yourself, ways to become the best version of yourself. And I'm speaking on these matters as somebody who has experienced these things personally in my life. I've been in very dark places. I've made my way out of those places with the help of God, you know, by surrendering, by giving up my way of doing things and saying, hey, God, can you please help me? If you're real, will you show me? Will you help me? Will you lift me out of this? And when I'm sincere in that, God reaches his, you know, metaphorical hand down and pulls me up and shows me a way out of the mess that I've created for myself, which is generally the situation. Is like, I've never been in a messy situation in life that I can't take at least partial responsibility for, if not total. Because when it comes down to it, you know, there's so many red flags I ignored in people, in places, in jobs, in relationships, because I have my own agenda. Like my last relationship, so many red flags. If I knew anything about narcissism, and I did know a few things about it, but even then, I was blind. I was blind by the lust that I had. There was a lot of vanity and a lot of lust going on, just to be totally honest. You know, that's not to say I didn't have good intentions and I didn't care about this person, and I don't still care about this person on a level, but also I was very driven by lust, because she was very beautiful, very sexy girl that I had a lot of desire for, and that desire caused me to ignore a lot of things I shouldn't have ignored. And I was very attached. I didn't want to let go of that situation. And that got me into a lot of trouble I could have avoided by having a connection with God first and foremost, and then also having some level of surrender, so it could look like, hey Tim, it seems like you're really, really attached to getting what you want sexually and emotionally from this person, to the point that you're overlooking some very serious red flags. Like, this person doesn't really seem like they're ready to commit to something the way that you are. And so maybe you need to not engage in this, you know. And I could have just walked away, and I could have saved myself so much trouble, but I didn't do that. I stuck around way too long and went through a lot of pain and a lot of damage. And then because I was damaged and I was hurt, I was unwittingly hurting people and damaging other situations in my life. And long story short, you know, that situation brought me to my knees. But ultimately, I thank God for all of it, because it brought me to the path of semen retention and celibacy in a way where I can take this thing very, very seriously, because I've been there, done that. You know, I've had all of the sexual fantasies that I created throughout my life. I was able to fulfill those fantasies in real life for the most part, and definitely had some great pleasurable experiences that ultimately left me feeling empty and broken and left my life in shambles. And then I had to pick up the pieces, and I basically had to go, at one point, you guys, I was homeless with nothing, for real. And I'm sitting here in a very nice car that I keep clean and I take care of. I have multiple sources of income. I have multiple jobs. I'm not rich, but I make just enough to afford the life that I like to live. And I'm also busy building a life that's going to allow me to do even more things and give me more freedom. Every day I'm putting in work on fulfilling my goals and my visions for myself and my life. And I've gotten clear on what those look like. And that really helps me stay the course. So that's the main point of this video, you guys, is this is all about creating momentum for ourselves, because there's this saying in physics: an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by another force, right? So it's like, for example, if I were to throw a ball in a vacuum where there's no air, where there's no force of resistance, where there's no gravity, that thing would just keep moving forever. But there are forces that move against it. Well, the same is true about us in our pursuits in this life, whether they're spiritual, financial, physical, whatever. If I'm trying to grow my muscles and get stronger in the gym, well, what does that take? It takes resistance. There's resistance. The weight is the resistance. Without that resistance, how can I grow? Same thing spiritually. This is these spiritual attacks, the tests, the temptations, the desires of the flesh that we have to rise above. If those things aren't there, resisting our forward progression, then we're not going to be able to get as strong as we could be. So it's all there for you. Everything's there for you. What you want to do is make sure that you have momentum and that you accept the force of resistance as a necessary aspect of your own growth and evolution. It's a good thing. It's nothing to fight against. It's something to celebrate. And there's a way of sort of getting into a flow with things so that we're not swimming upstream in life, so that we're allowing the current of life, which I would consider to be like God's will for you. God gave you certain gifts and abilities and strengths, and you should play to those things, right? You also have weaknesses. You should be aware of those and trying to strengthen them any way you can. And that's where faith and prayer comes in. God has a way of giving us strength where we're weak. We just have to be able to admit where it is we're weak, but also be aware, where is it that we're strong? Play to those strengths so that you're not fighting the current, so that you're moving with the current being God's will. But you still have to work. You've got to stay afloat. You've got to swim. You've got to be conscious. You've got to be aware of the pitfalls. You got to be aware of the certain predators that might be there. All of these things take awareness and growing consciousness. But as we progress in this journey against the resistance, we do grow in consciousness. And this momentum I'm talking about is critical. So the experience I'm having, you guys, is since I've put away all of these bad habits, like chasing women, like obsessing over these things, like worrying about tomorrow. How am I going to get this? How am I going to secure a mate? How am I going to secure a partner? I want to have a family. I want to have this. I want to have that. A lot of lack mentality thinking is what I was engaged in. And that was serving as an energetic block for me receiving the things I needed in order to continue along the path that God has placed before me. So now I've switched everything around so that I'm in a situation where I know that I'm taken care of. I give thanks and praise to God as a daily practice. It's like brushing my teeth. It's like anything you would do on a daily basis. It's give thanks to God, appreciate and recognize the abundance that's already before me. Even though I could compare myself to somebody else and feel like I'm poor, but it's not about comparing myself to somebody else. It's about recognizing the fact that today I can walk, I can see, I can hear. That's a form of wealth. Today I have the ability to discern good from bad. That's a form of wealth. Today I'm okay. I don't need a drug to make me feel okay. I'm just okay. That's a form of wealth. Today I get to eat food if I want to. Today I get to have shelter. I have friends and family. I'm not alone. And I have the grace of God in my life. So I really have an endless list of things to be thankful for. And by expressing thanks for those things, I'm now in a state of abundance. And that state of abundance, we attract what we are, what we really are. I am abundant, you guys. And I want you to say that with me. Say, I am abundant. I am whole. I am complete. I am moving in the right direction. I am healing. Anything you put after the word I am is so powerful. These affirmations are powerful. We don't need to sit there with our hands in mudras, cross-legged on the floor, doing kundalini practices and repeating these things over and over. No, just say it and believe it. And look for evidence. So you're not lying to yourself. I am abundant. I am abundant. I know that to be the case. And so I am attracting that reality in my life in the form of job opportunities. I went from having no work when I was injured with my knee surgery situation to having multiple job offers. And guess what? These jobs are much better jobs than any jobs I've had in the past because they're aligned with me. I'm finding that I'm working with people that I enjoy working with. All right. I'm being compensated fairly for my time. And you know what? I'm not worrying about that. When I show up to work, my job is to do the best that I possibly can. And I'm not going to think about, oh, am I getting tipped fairly? Am I getting paid fairly? Is this person making more than me? It's none of that. It's just me bringing my best to the table. I've been also very productive writing music. So I've noticed there's this effect. The more I do, the more I do. Right? The less I do, the less I do. There's also a saying I want to bring before I close this out. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So when you get into this mentality where it's like anything I'm doing, even if it's just I'm making my bed, I'm taking a shower, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to work, I'm going to meet up with such and such person, I'm going to write this email, whatever it is, I'm going to bring 100% of myself to that. I'm going to try and do that one thing as good as I can possibly do it. And that'll start to bleed into all areas of your life. And everything you're doing as good as you can possibly do it. And when that's the kind of person you become very magnetic, very attractive, very abundant. And you start to develop this real belief and confidence in yourself, and knowing that you're on a trajectory towards greater and greater levels of abundance and success. You're not worried about anything anymore. So you guys, you have to be aware of the fact that if you have a phone, if you have social media, if you're around screens, if you're around people that have screens, you're always given a million things to worry about. They're destroying the economy. They're going to destroy the dollar. The cyber attacks, like October 4th coming up. There's all this talk about that. There was all this talk about September 23rd, something was supposed to happen. Here we are, right? There's always something. Remember Y2K. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You guys, you get to decide what's going to happen. You and God, all right? God created you with certain gifts, certain abilities, certain strengths, certain weaknesses. All we have to do is get honest with ourselves about what those are, take an honest inventory of ourselves and our lives, and are we moving in the direction we want to be moving in? What's our momentum? Am I sliding downhill? Am I an avalanche? Collecting wreckage? Falling backwards? Because that's easy to do. We can get in those habits. That's when you start drinking, you start smoking weed, you start laying around, you start watching Netflix, you start making excuses. Next thing you know, years have gone by, and you have these goals and these dreams of maybe about traveling or starting a business or doing this and that, and none of it has materialized. And you're still doing the same thing. How many people do you guys know that's their life? It's like the people that live their lives on the bar stools talking about all the things they're gonna do. And then 30 years later, they're sitting on that same bar stool talking about all the things they would have done. Don't be one of those people, you guys. Momentum, and retention, celibacy, and focus, cultivating this masculine energy where you are a creator, not a consumer. You're a creator. You generate things. You produce things, right? This is what happens when you cultivate that masculine energy. Now you take it a step further. You get your diet on point. You start connecting to the earth. You start getting some sunshine. right? You start taking care of your health in all areas, which means being conscious of, what are my finances like? Am I wasting money here and there? I should be bringing in more money than I'm spending, ideally, because as a generator, as a producer, that's an ideal scenario, is I'm bringing in more than I'm spending, right? And we want to try and maybe do the same thing energetically. I'm cultivating more of this energy than I'm expending. So as a retainer, ideally, we're not expending any of that energy. Now, some people have a system where they'll release once, twice a month, whatever. I don't do that. It's been 7 months since I've had to release something like that, other than a couple of wet dreams. Okay? I'm not thinking of it like that. I'm stacking, stacking. Because I do go out there and I try to do a lot. Have multiple jobs. I'm in the gym. I'm writing music. I'm in the studio. I'm always working on something, right? That requires a lot of energy. Where does that energy come from? Well, it comes from all the energy that I'm not wasting on anything of sexual nature. If I'm not married and trying to start a family with somebody on a plot of land that I own that I can garden and farm on, what business do I have using that sexual energy for sex, when that could be used to get that plot of land, right? To attract that woman. That's what we should be focusing on, you guys. All right. So now this video was a little bit long, but your boy had a lot to say, because he's fired up and feeling good. About to work on music today. Got a student today. Got a job. I'm grateful for all of it. Let's go.